And now for tonight's last word, which will be my last words before Christmas. And this is where I will answer the question I asked on Twitter today: who is your favorite baseball writer? My baseball career ended in college. I played on the freshman team, but was becoming more drawn to intellectualism than athleticism, and so I gave up baseball. And it was perfect timing because baseball was going to give up me very soon. There was very little chance that I would have made the varsity team the next year, so it was an amicable parting of the ways. Most of what I learned about baseball came from great coaches, beginning with my father, then Bob Buechele when I made it into the Cedar Grove Little League in Dorchester, then Dan Burke, John Balfe, the great Henry Lane. The rest of what I learned about baseball came from Peter Gammons, the Boston Globe's best baseball writer when I was in high school. Peter Gammons went on to Sports Illustrated and ESPN and is on everyone's short list of best baseball writers ever. Most of you on Twitter today and tonight said that Peter Gammons is your favorite baseball writer. And today he wrote something that thrilled me, using fewer words than he ever has before. Peter Gammons, who I have never met, tweeted, "Giving the gift of a desk through Kind offers a Christmas thought." That went out to his more than 500,000 Twitter followers, and I retweeted it as soon as I could. And Peter Gammons' tweet includes a link to the Kind Fund, where you can contribute at lastworddesks.msnbc.com. You can do your last-minute Christmas shopping there and give a school desk for kids in African schools that don't have desks, or you can contribute a girls' scholarship to help a girl stay in high school in Malawi, where public high school is not free, and the few families who can afford tuition to send it, when they send a child to high school, they usually send one of their boys instead of one of their girls. And so the girls' high school graduation rate there is half of the boys. You can make a contribution in the name of anyone on your gift list, and UNICEF will send them an acknowledgement of your gift. Peter Gammons' tweet today, the day before Christmas Eve, just might raise more money for kids in need of desks than any tweet about Kind ever has. Peter Gammons has almost double the number of Twitter followers that I do, and he's a lot more likable, and he has fans that have been devoted to him for over 40 years. My friend Holland Taylor has fans who've been following her work for that long on stage, screen, and television. I last visited her backstage when she was doing a one-woman show about Texas Governor Ann Richards at Lincoln Center. She recently tweeted, "Be kind, be happy. Lawrence's wonderful charity through UNICEF gives school kids used to mud floors desks." Holland Taylor has been an enthusiastic supporter of the Kind Fund from the start. You know, I always feel a bit awkward when it's time to talk about the Kind Fund on this program. I don't want to be one of those guys on a telethon begging you to contribute, but this is the only way that we raise money for kids in need of desks. It's the only way that we raise money to send girls to high school in Malawi. The only way. Just before I began doing this show 5 years ago, a dear friend of mine, Karen Russell, asked me what I was going to do with the show. And she didn't mean what was going to be in the show or who are the guests going to be. She meant, how was I going to use this platform to do something important, something that I wouldn't be able to do without an hour of real estate and cable news primetime. Karen Russell learned to think in those terms from her father, someone Peter Gammons knows well, Boston Celtics legend Bill Russell, who used his prominence to support Martin Luther King Jr., to support the civil rights movement and other important work, including work in Africa, throughout his career. And Bill Russell is still at it. The Kind Fund is my answer to Karen Russell's question, what are you going to do with this show? Providing jobs at 3 flat factories in Malawi to make school desks for kids who have never seen desks, and providing scholarships for girls to go to high school who would never otherwise be able to go to high school is by far the most important work I do. And it's easy for me to do it because I have this platform, and it is a joy to do it. Pure joy. And I'm not sure if I'd be doing it if Karen Russell hadn't asked me what I was going to do with this show. Sometimes we just have to be asked. And so I'm asking you to make at least some of your Christmas giving important. I do the same kind of Christmas shopping that everyone else does, getting the same kinds of gifts that everyone else does, and I'll be doing some of that last-minute stuff tomorrow. But I also give the gift of desks and girls' scholarships to some of the people on my gift list. And this is the kind of last-minute gift that you don't even have to leave your house to get. You just go to lastworddesks.msnbc.com. In the last 24 hours, you have done that, and you have contributed another $90,149 to the Kind Fund, bringing our totals since we began the fund 5 years ago to $8,092,548 for desks, $1,606,505 for girls' scholarships, which is a total now of $9,699,053. With that, we have doubled the number of kids in Malawi who now have desks in their schools. But still, most kids in Malawi schools don't have desks. And most girls there cannot afford to go to high school and don't go to high school. We've come a long way, and we have a long way to go. I can never find the words to thank you enough for what you've done. And as we head into Christmas Eve, let's all just listen to the voices of those children at their new desks, the most beautiful thanks we could ever hear. We just got a reaction from Donald Trump to something Hillary Clinton said earlier in the program. Let's take a look at what Secretary Clinton said.
I really deplore the tone of his campaign and the inflammatory rhetoric that he is using to divide people. I don't know that he has any boundaries at all. And his bigotry, his bluster, his bullying have become his campaign.
Looks like Donald may be watching the show tonight. Minutes after she said that on this program, Donald Trump tweeted, Hillary said, I really deplore the tone and inflammatory rhetoric of this campaign. I deplore the death and destruction she caused. Stupidity. Howard Dean, your reaction to Donald Trump's tweeting tonight?
I think he sounds incoherent and inarticulate. I don't, I mean, there are a number of people who thought Donald Trump was driving over the edge for the last 6 or 8 months. I've always thought that he was an incredibly clever politician, but at some point he's going to become unwound, and maybe this is it.
Yeah, unwound is about the most charitable, Christmas-like comment you could make about it. Howard Dean, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for wearing the Christmas sweater,
yes,
getting us all in the spirit.
I was hoping you'd notice.
And now let's listen to Donald Trump on the national debt.
We have $19 trillion in debt.
We have $19 trillion in debt. It was 18 a short while ago. Now it's 19.
You got that? $19 trillion in debt. I hope it doesn't shock you to know that Donald Trump's only exaggerating the national debt by about $1 trillion. It is actually $18.1 trillion, but in Trump world, that is as accurate as he's ever been about any number. Trump's plan for the national debt is to, of course, increase it. According to a new analysis by the Tax Policy Center, Donald Trump's tax plan is going to increase the national debt by more than 50% over 10 years. The Trump plan would increase the national debt a little over $1 trillion a year. The Trump plan would reduce taxes at all income levels, with, of course, the biggest tax cuts going to the richest taxpayers, as they always do. Christina Bellantoni, Howard Dean, back with us. Christina, this is one of those things where the only economic plan he has is his tax plan, and the big thing that it does is explode the deficit and the debt.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. Yeah.
This is, in some ways, it is important for campaigns to put out policy statements like this and to put things behind the statements that they make. But Congress deals with tax policy, and if Donald Trump somehow became president, and the Congress that exists today is the Congress that would be there in 2017, they're not going to pass a tax plan like this. And so, it is good to look at an analysis of this. I think that it is important information to say, that debt would be there until 2036,
Yes.
according to this estimate, but it actually won't become reality.
Right.
And he probably also is not becoming president, and that fact. But, it's important to point out that Democrats and Republicans have fundamental differences when it comes to how you tax and how you spend. You look at right here in California, Governor Jerry Brown has been very clear, we're going to tax people a lot, and we're going to do a lot for the state, and we're going to try to plug some of our holes. Whether or not that's working, that's another debate for another day. But Republicans and Democrats are clearly different on this issue.
And Hardeen, there wouldn't be Donald Trump would not lose a single voter over any report indicating that his tax plan might not work.
That's true, although I do say I have to disagree with Christina. Actually, that Congress just did pass a tax plan like Donald Trump's. They passed a tax plan which some Democrats voted for, a significant number of Democrats, which gave huge tax breaks to wealthy people and corporations, and some tax breaks like the extension of the earned income tax credit and the extension of solar and wind credit taxes. So it's some Democrats on board. So you're right. The Congress sets tax policy, but their tax policy was pretty bad. That added $800 billion to the deficit in the next 10 years. So,
And
so
President
what else
Obama
is new,
signed
right?
an extension of the Bush tax cuts as well. I mean, that is definitely true.
Let's listen to what the Democrats are saying about this. Bernie Sanders, first of all, and there's a real debate going on between Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders about taxes. Let's listen to this.
Do away with the corporate loopholes that allow major profitable corporations to stash their money in the Cayman Islands and not pay a nickel in some cases in federal income tax. That's $100 billion a year. We're going to impose a tax on Wall Street speculation to pay for, to make sure that public colleges and universities in America are tuition free. We're going to raise the estate tax for wealthy, very, very wealthy people, the top 0.2%. But in terms of this issue that you raised, I do disagree with the Secretary. I believe the United States should join the rest of the world through paid family and medical leave. It will cost us $1.61 a week in an increase in payroll tax. I think that's a great investment.
Is that the only thing you plan on raising taxes on the middle class on?
Yes, that's right.
And Christina, as you say, Congress has this power, and there isn't going to be a Congress that's going to do that plan either.
That's very true. And, single-payer health care, right? There are things that progressives like to lay out, and Bernie Sanders is going right along those lines. And that's resonating with the youngest voters. You're also hearing both campaigns talk about a real student loan reform in a way that wasn't necessarily the conversation 4 or 8 years ago, because that's one of the things Sanders is doing in this race. Even if he does not defeat Hillary Clinton, he is pushing the entire conversation in the Democratic Party to a more progressive wing. Will that affect Congress? The Democrats are trying real hard to win back that Senate. Then we can start to see, do things turn? Do you have mixed control in the two chambers? Do you have a Republican in the White House? There's a lot to be determined. If the economy continues at this pace,